Hi, I'm Michael J. I'm a delegate to the California State Democratic Party from the 42nd AD, which includes parts of Beverly Hills, West Hollywood, and Sherman Oaks. And I'm also the co-chair of Progressive Democrats of Los Angeles. For several years, election integrity, election justice, election protection has been one of my priorities, as with many people that I know, many activists and also delegates to the party. I hope that you're aware of these issues and why so many people are becoming concerned about this and calling for the party to know more and to do more on this issue. Looking at the platforms of several state parties, I've seen that many of them have addressed this issue. The California State Democratic Party had language about this, and I was also privileged to add further language recently, including that the party include, or rather that elections include paper ballot as the ballot of record, and that candidates do not concede an election until all votes are counted. Since that time, we've realized that, for reasons I'll explain in a moment, that language regarding paper ballots is actually not even airtight enough. And I'd like to submit to you that the National Party include this language, that the Democratic Party calls for every vote cast in America to be cast with a hand-marked paper ballot, one that is actually counted and counted accurately, and which shall serve as the complete and only ballot of record. The only exception shall be ballots created by voters with special needs who opt to use disabled, accessible voting devices as per the Help America Vote Act of 2002. And I'd like to explain why. Near our region here in California, Orange County, recently, an election which was close enough to demand a recount saw the judge overseeing that recount simply call for the electronic vote of the electronic machines to be recounted as the recount. He just essentially said, just run those machines again, even though they had a paper trail as mandated by Secretary of State Deborah Bowen with legislation she passed as a state senator. And so we see that even calling for the paper ballot or ballot of record is not enough when regarding this complicated issue. Likewise, many people feel that the outcome of the 2004 election could have been very different if our presidential candidate and party had insisted on waiting until all votes in Ohio, the swing state, to be counted before he conceded. And that's why we have language calling for that. I call for the National Party to have similar language. I'd like to point out that the state of Massachusetts also has language similar to California's, calling for the paper ballot to be the ballot of record. There are also states which had language calling for candidates not to concede. And I saw that many state platforms had language calling for a paper trail. That language, again, needs to be more rigorous, tenacious. We'd also like to call for Election Day to be a national holiday, and there are other states which call for that. I'd like you to consider this language, that the party opposes mandatory voter ID, vote caging, and vote purging in any form, including opposition to exact voter ID match. We saw the problem with that in LA, with the unrealistic requirements caused by that, where people's using different signatures over the years, where they might leave off their middle name from the way they signed in at the polls versus the way they'd signed their name with or without their middle name on their photo ID, such as their license. Simple things like that can really affect voter registration and an election. We'd also like to call that we demand transparency in every stage of elections. We call for reliable voter verifiable systems, robust auditing procedures, sometimes stated as statistically meaningful procedures for elections, updated and thorough recount procedures, public ownership of all voting systems and software. Please be aware that 85% of our electronic voting systems in America are owned by just two companies, and they are both owned by Republicans or avowed Republicans. Their software is claimed to be proprietary. It is proprietary. The public cannot see it. We've ceded so much of our election systems to such private ownership, and we don't want to see any further outsourcing of such a public and such a central part of our democracy in the same way we've ceded outsourcing of our war, etc. This is too important for that. We support candidates who pledge full accountability to the electorate and hold them to that pledge, including regular reports in person to their constituents. We encourage, where feasible, instant runoff elections, especially in primaries, and again encourage no concessions by candidates until all ballots are counted. While I have you, I just would like to supply one bit of evidence. If you haven't read the articles by such wonderful, notable people as Robert Kennedy Jr., or seen the many editorials over the years by such respected publications as the New York Times. The fact that these machines are vulnerable and can be hacked was proven by no less than Princeton University. I want to call your attention to this YouTube video. It's quite a well-known, well-dispersed video of Princeton University's demonstration of how to break into and hack, so to speak, change the software of a voting machine, in this case a Diebold voting machine. Here they're showing that you access the slot where the data goes in by using a key which is the same key used for mini bars and other non-secure devices. And they did so within a minute, and they did so without leaving a trace. All things that not only Diebold but many elections officials deny. We see testimonials not only from citizens but often from candidates and from existing elected officials who testify that they would go in and use electronic machines and make a choice on the touchscreen and then see their vote switch. That if they voted, for example, for Kerry in the 2004 election, they would press Kerry, it might light up for a second, but before they went on to the next screen, it would have shifted for George Bush. There are also many statistical anomalies shown in these elections where states' polls before the elections and exit polls changed by amounts that were statistically impossible. So please be aware of why so many people are wishing for the party to take a more active role and ensure that its party platform addresses election integrity. One last point. The issue of felons who are sometimes allowed to vote and in other states not allowed to vote after they are released from prison. We'd ask you that convicted felons upon their release have their voting rights automatically restored. In Florida, for example, they still have to petition the governor. Thank you for listening.